Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Love them.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Huddersfield Town Social. The boys are back in the studio, aka Ian's Garage, to discuss Huddersfield Town's 25-26 season. After starting the season on fire with a 3-0 victory against Leyton Orient, the Terriers finished with a 4-0 flourish at Wimbledon. Just a shame about the other 44 odd games. But never mind. We're all going to be discussing the Wimbledon game plus the, where it all went wrong, shall we say, this season, and looking ahead, of course, to the next season. In this season, we've had a change of manager. We've had a new interim manager, a new CEO, new director of football, scored 74 goals, conceded 64, new sound system, new announcer, and we've only finished 1 point better off. But never mind. That's it. One place better off, but never mind. We're all here. And for those of you that have bothered to tune in on a Saturday afternoon, thank you so much for doing so. My name's Nick Barlow. Joining us will be Ian Kilroy, Gasquet and Andy Kay for the last time this season. How are you all doing, guys? You all good?
Better than the weather, Nick. Better than the weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. I'll be checking on these comments. It's a little bit harder doing it like this, but yeah, put your comments in. Any topics, specific topics you want us to discuss, get them in and we will discuss them. But lads, afternoon, Daz, 2608, good to see you, mate. Let's start by discussing something really positive. Wimbledon. It was after that Mansfield game. That Mansfield game was dreadful. So for all the guys travelling down, you want to finish with a flourish, don't you? And yeah, all right, there were nothing on it. Wimbledon probably checked out because they were safe, but for all the Town fans travelling down, you want to put on a show, don't you? And that's exactly what they did, wasn't it, Gaz?
They did. And they started it right from the off. I mean, the day was a lovely day anyway. Andy and I were just talking about the ground. I love those kind of grounds, those smaller league grounds. You look really nice area out the back where you can get a beer and stand. The sun was shining. So it had all the ingredients of a proper end of season game. Just a shame it had fuck all riding on it, really. But actually, in fairness to the players, they looked like they turned up. I think Wimbledon was still half pissed. Apparently, they've been all on the lash, hadn't they, to their manager. But Town, probably for the first time since the first game of the season, actually were pretty ruthless as well. I thought they played really well, scored 4 cracking goals, and sent the fans home as happy as I guess we could be in the circumstances, Nick.
The intensity, to use a Mark Fotheringham phrase, the intensity was there, Andy, wasn't it? Right from the offset, we get straight up there with the post, and it's been uncharacteristic this season because we don't normally start games well. As bad as it sounds, we've kind of grown into quite a lot of games, haven't we? But we really took it to Wimbledon early and started with intent. And I thought all 4 goals were really good goals, weren't they? Really well worked, some nice passing, one touch. Alfie May, I thought, was brilliant. But the first goal, Sorensen makes a really good run, played in. I think, was it Ledson that played it? I think it was Ledson, wasn't it? Played him in, and a nice dink finish, wasn't it? Over the keeper, really good finish, and fans celebrating, sun's out. Perfect start, wasn't it?
It was a very similar goal to the one that he scored against whoever it was when he equalised in the last minutes. Although this time it was an intentional pass, not Rowan shanking it. It was an intentional pass from Ledson, and I thought Ledson had a good game. The best bit about it for me was I actually discovered that having beer on an away day is a good thing. Normally I don't drink when I go to Town, so I watch it sober. But we had a great good day out. I met Gaz behind the stands. We had a drink together. That sounds more
That
sensible.
sounds well dodgy, doesn't it?
But
Well dodgy.
there were other people there as well at the same time. That's not made it any better, to be fair. But yeah, it was a rate good do, and they played well. He should have scored earlier on, actually, Sorensen. I think it was a header that he missed back post. But yeah, apparently somebody turned to Stephen Chicken in the comms box and said, "How long have you had Cafu playing for you on right back?" I'm not sure he was at Cafu levels, but certainly not the ginger Cafu levels. But yeah, it was quality. While I remember, can I just say, and I know he'll be watching at some point, but my mate Ian Bullock came and said a word. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know about this. But this is an envelope that Ian Bullock gave to me. Thank you, Ian, to sponsor Killer and I for our little cycling trip, and he found me in the way end, and we had a nice chat about his career as a Town fan and what have you. So just, Ian, thank you so much again. Absolutely outstanding, mate. Thank you very much. But yeah,
are you doing a cycling trip, Andy? You should have mentioned. You should have mentioned it. News to me.
What cycling trip?
2,000 feet climbing yesterday. Just like to say that round my new favourite place in the world, Roydmoor. Yeah, so 6 weeks today. We will be somewhere between Peterborough and Doncaster. Hopefully the weather will be better than this. But yeah.
Well, we're not in it 5 weeks.
No, it's 6 weeks.
All right, I've got an extra week to practice.
Don't turn up for one bloody day, mate.
I'll probably need an extra week to get home on time. To be fair. I've done 2,000 feet of climbing, and it's not me just yet. I haven't managed that yet.
Not yet. We'll get you up there.
I'll be thinking about you. I'll raise a glass to you.
Thanks, mate. And thank you for your kind sponsorship as well. Both gents have kindly sponsored us both, so much appreciated. But going back to the day itself, it's a really well set up ground. I loved all the flags that the Wimbledon fans have got around. It's a fan-owned club, isn't it? And all the messages and the symbols that they got around the stadium. Very, very well looked after. Stewards absolutely amazing with us. After they calmed down a bit, they got a bit greedy with the inflatables that were bouncing around early doors, but realised that if they played along with the Town fans, they would get better out of them than antagonising them. But yeah, it was just a party atmosphere. We got to see how much Tris Batley-Cow loves Alfie May. If you watch the the behind the scenes video, you can put Alfie's trying to go and talk to somebody else. Tris keeps grabbing him back. But that was typical of the day, really. It was just a really good day out, and Town did play very, very well indeed.
I can't believe there's 73 of you listening to this right now, but thank you very much on a Saturday afternoon. I'm just having a look at some of these comments. Mark Harrison, really nice day out at Wimbledon. Hope for more of these next season, please. Bomo, afternoon, lads. Great shows this season. Been more entertaining than watching Town. Thank you very much, mate. It means a lot. Four guys talking bollocks, but I'm glad that you enjoy it.
That's a low bar, though, isn't it? To be more entertaining than Town.
Well, yeah.
So that's not really much of a compliment.
What are you for?
It's just a bit of a low bar. Town have been particularly shit.
We'll take it, mate. We'll take it. Fevers McGraw, thank God this season is over.
It is.
Only positives that Castor isn't as bad as we thought. No, it's been all right. It's been all right. Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah. There's always positivity if you look for it, isn't there? Hard enough. So, Ian, do you think, obviously the pressure off on it, fans in good spirits, no one's really going to be getting on anyone's back that day. Do you think that rubbed off on the players a little bit? Do you think they have suffered? And we'll get on to where it's gone wrong this season, but do you think the pressure has told on the players? It kind of seemed like just shackles were off, go and do your thing. And they seemed to play with much more freedom, didn't they?
It were a weird one, because the week before against Mansfield, it looked like the players didn't give a shit. Everyone were on holiday, no one cared. So to be fair to Drury, instead, somehow they've managed to get them back on field and back giving a shit. That's how it looked to me. I watched from in here legally, as it was on TV for last game of the season on Now TV. But it was a strange thing to see. But I think a lot of it was a system change. There was a formation change. We dropped the back three more or less entirely to go with the 4-2-3-1, which helps when you're trying to press high and win the ball back high. And I thought that was the difference in the game, not just what we did on the ball. In that when we got the ball, we did play it faster. We played more direct. There were there were more than a couple of nice moves. There were a lot of nice moves with 3-4 passing back to front. And at the end of the game, second half, some good goals came from it. But it was the shift that we had more men further upfield so that we could try and win the ball back higher. And I think that just dragged everyone forward. But like you say, you can't ignore the fact that Johnny Jackson the week before and the game after the game at Wigan, I think it was, is it where they won? Talking about having an easier week, they could go out and party, and okay, the next week didn't really matter. Wimbledon very much looked like that. They weren't diving in, stopping shots. They were playing very much on the beach. They'd done, you still have to take them apart. And against Mansfield the week before, okay, with Clough it's quite different in that he's going to motivate them. Jackson didn't do that same thing with Wimbledon. They were only there to be beaten, but still you have to put performance in him. And we did. And I think the blueprint was there for next season, which we'll get onto later in this podcast. But what I found really funny with it was that system was Lee Grant's system. The way Town played that game with Harness playing wide right as the hook coming into the 10, allowing the right back to get further forward. So it was kind of like a lopsided formation, was what Lee Grant wanted to do and did do quite well at the beginning of the season until we shat the bed, changed everything, which is again something we'll get onto in a little bit. But this is going back to that, which I find kind of full circle in that Wimbledon first time round was where it kind of ended. And Wimbledon second time round is where maybe there's something there to build upon. But you've got to look at Wimbledon's team not really caring too much, because for them, the season was completed. They've done what they needed to do this year, which was to stay up for the first season that they're in the division.
I thought Cam Humphries made a big difference on the day. And you're talking about it being Lee Grant's formation, but I don't actually had those players all available ever at once. And I thought Cam Humphries was the absolute driving force.
He was back playing as a 10, though, wasn't he? He was back playing in the position that he played last year at Wickham. At Wickham, he had three in front of him. I can't remember who they had, Kone, Odiyama, and I can't remember who the third guy was, but he had pacey guys up top, which he just had to pivot, play them in. Yeah. And now we haven't had that this year. Alpha May did it well on Saturday. Will Alves came in from absolutely nowhere to start and did really, really well. Like I said, that effort where he's at the post early doors shows what he can do. And it's just another thing that I found quite surprising in that he's been nowhere, and then all of a sudden he's put in tricky on the left-hand side, defensively suspect, and that's why he's not been playing, obviously. It's similar to Cam Asher. They play a different way, but again, very forward-facing guys rather than defensive duties, which over the course of the season is something that became more important to Town coaches. But he came in, was a bit of breath of fresh air on that left-hand side, and all of a sudden Cam Humphries looks like one of the best players in the division. He looked fantastic, I thought, on Saturday.
I think out of all the players, he's probably the only one I'd have liked Town to retain, to try and get hold of. Will Alves is really weird, isn't he? Because every time I've watched him, he's looked decent to me. He's looked a real threat going forward. Defences seem to shit themselves when he's running at them. He's one of the only ones that will run at people. He's got a goal in him. He's one of the only ones you think he can pull something out of nothing. If you're not playing well, it just takes that moment. We haven't got many players like that. And I don't know why multiple managers seem to not want to play him. But I get the defensive. But I think with Town, with a defence that we've got, really, should we need to be relying on him to do?
Well, we played him as a wing back, and he's not a wing back. He'll never be a wing back.
Keep him up front.
That was the problem. And again, we'll get into it at some point. I reckon today that why did we bring him in? And then if the plan was always to go this way, which we don't think it was the plan to go this way, he was never going to play as a wing back. So whenever he was tried there, he didn't look as effective as he did on Saturday. Because again, he's playing high wide, just get forward, cause problems, create chances, and he did. But I don't like saying there's a player there because that is quite cliche. I get that, but he's definitely got something about him, like Cameron Asher has, in that these players at this level are far and few between who can, from absolutely nothing, drop a shoulder, dribble past two, and create a chance. We didn't have enough of players like that in the team for most of this season. So when he is there ready to go, that it just shows you what he can do, and he was really good.
He was brought in to replace Castledine, wasn't he? When Castledine went to Borough, he was brought in. So I'm with you. I don't really understand. Castledine was in and out. He was a young lad, but he found a level of consistency by being continually played. Yeah, we didn't seem to give Alves the same chance really to have a string of games and see where that took him.
Yeah, and Alpha May, Andy, is not had the best of seasons. I think that's putting it lightly. He's been in and out. But I mean, he looked brilliant. That game. It's the Alpha May that we thought we were signing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bringing people into play, great passing, really nice couple of finishes. He's obviously still got it. Yeah, he might have lost a bit the yard of pace. Now he's getting on a little bit in football terms, but he's still a great striker at this level. Why have we not seen the best of him?
Well, I think because we haven't played to his strengths, and I think certainly one of the goals that he scored was running onto a through ball and then clipping it over the keeper. That second one that he scored, and that's what I associate Alfie May with doing. But we just haven't created opportunities, chances like that this season for me. So maybe there's an element of, do we need to blend the style back to good old Lee Grant's way of doing things so that we can create that and have a big lad that he plays off. But yeah, I loved his attitude. He gave the Wimbledon fans some shit, and he came and joined in with the Town fans, and he's got a bit of an edge, a bit of shithouse about him, which is Town fans will enjoy. Now, whether or not he's still here, whether we decide to cash in on him or not, because we're going to need to do a bit of churn of the squad, aren't we? But yeah, we saw, as you just said, what we hoped we were going to get. But it's a shame it took 45 games to get to that point.
It's funny though, because his actual goals and assists, he's second in the team still, even with how disappointed everybody's been with him. For me, I think he scored 6, 7 and assisted 6. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, it's 12 in total.
Yeah.
I think only Castledine had more. He's got more, the same as Bojan. I think Dion Charles has got quite a few as well, funnily enough, which surprised me. Yeah. But even on a very clear down year for Alfie May, he still produces goals, regardless of how many we want him to score and how many chances he has missed. I think for the XG over the season, he's 6 under what he should have done, which again, I don't like XG. I don't like stats like that, but that's quite a big difference that normally isn't the case for a player like Alfie May. Has he been mismanaged? Like you say, is it in a system that doesn't bring out the best in him, that he's generally played with the big lad up top next to him and that's worked best for him? And it's all right saying, well, he's on 12 grand a week, whatever he's on. He's our main player. He's got to adapt. That's not football. You can want him to do that. But again, this is elite sport. Even League One, it's elite sport. And they're very much one-track ponies in most positions. To get the best out of players, you have to make sure that you're facilitating that, and it's a bit like you and your job in it, Andy. So you're an expert at this.
Indeed. Well, you just need to decide what you're going to be and stick to it. Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah. I think the other thing, two stupid sendings off didn't help. That broke the season up for him. And I think and actually in the first half on Saturday, he was pretty anonymous. He made some good runs, but he never really got into the game. The second half, he ran the game, and not only did he score 2 goals, but when Seabairn came on, he dropped into the 10 and looked just as good. In fact, I actually think he looked better playing behind Seabairn than he did as a lone striker. Although he scored 2 goals playing as a lone striker. So you're right. I guess it's just a taste of what we miss, and I guess it'll be, whilst we're frustrated, I can only imagine, looking at his public persona, he's probably more frustrated than we are. He doesn't come across as the kind of bloke that lets himself off lightly. Alfie May, I wouldn't have thought so. And now Triss has been in his ear. Who knows? The sky is the limit. The sky's the limit. Yeah.
To be fair, last I was talking to Bolker. That's his shirt there from the sponsorship event. Yeah. He missed next game after I spoke to him, and last year the same thing happened with Dion Charles. We didn't see him for ages after it. So maybe we don't see Alfie May again for a while after Tristan's spoken to him. But one of those sending off was after he pulled Casey Palmer's hair, wasn't it? Yeah. But did you see this week on the scholarship we signed 6 new young lads to play? I think 3 or 4 of them have dreadlocks. So maybe we are learning. Maybe we're learning that there's an advantage to take when you're looking at these soft red cards, because that Alfie May red card is still something that really bothers me. It still bothers me.
One of them called El Nino.
Yes, and we reckon it's because Fernando Torres was named that. His nickname was that in
the lads from Liverpool,
and he's from Liverpool.
The young lads from Liverpool.
So maybe that's something we can get confirmed at some point this year. But that's the theory behind that. But who knows? It could be the weather phenomenon, couldn't it? So
first ever El Nino to play for Huddersfield Town, I would imagine.
So probably the only El Nino to ever play. Yeah,
depends how good he is.
Well, I think so. Yeah, that's the bit for me when George Seabairn scored was like, it wasn't up there with a Cam and Ashery moment away at Reading, which I drunkenly told Cam and Asher in the away end, my favourite part of the season, mate. And you could see that look in his eyes, was thinking, I'm talking to a drunken old man here again. But God bless him, he was nice enough to have a chat to me. But just the graft and the energy and the effort you've got to get to be able to do something as significant as that. I loved that sort of topped the day off for me. That was really, when something like that happens, it's really.
And it was nice to see Murray as well. But I don't know if you saw that at the end. Murray came to the bottom. I don't know if it was his mum or his grandma, and there was a couple of his family members came over and gave him which again was really nice to see.
And nice to see that picture of him in one of the stands, whether it was a town top on, with his arm around a mate of his back in the day. So he's gone from the stands out onto the pitch, and fair dues to him. Whether he'll be significant next season, I probably doubt, but that's no disrespect to him. He's probably very young in his career, but it's great to see stories like that one, localish lads coming through, because I think he's from Leeds. Like, what's his first? His Sabiners as well. So he's not an Huddersfield lad, but yeah, good. You want people who represent your area to be similar to you, don't you, to a certain extent? So yeah, great to see.
There's definitely potential there, isn't there? I like the goal. I thought it reminded me a bit of John Stead, really. He's good strength, decent feet. No, he certainly weren't letting the defender get to that ball.
No, he
were he?
weren't.
So,
No, blocked him off
so
really
there's
well.
definitely. Would you loan him out then, Andy, next season, or
I
would you?
think
What
so.
would you do?
I think so. But it depends what they're going to do with the striking options. If Joe Taylor stays, if it's going to be Dion Charles, you would imagine will be going. So there will be at least one vacancy. If we keep Joe Taylor, there will be a vacancy, and there's something to be said for giving him a run as one of those four. He's not going to get picked to play virtual trophy games, FA Cup games, that type of stuff. So
the thing is, if he continues to develop as quickly as he must have done over the last 12 months, having come from guys, it's another one nobody knows about.
Nobody
ever mentions that. But if he's developed so quickly in a year to get to this point now where he's proficient, I'm not going to go much further than that just yet when it comes to his effect for the first team. But he's not trained in professional football for very long either. I'd keep him around, to be honest. I'd definitely keep him this next season. He's very young, isn't he? He's still 19. Is he 19 still? 19. So he's going to turn 20 throughout the next season. Yeah. He's still got a lot of time after that. If then to go away like Tom Upender's done to get that little bit more experience later on, I think for the moment, if you're scoring goals for the first team, and as of today, Bojan Radulovic is the only other big man option who's played fewer minutes this year than Barley Mumba has done over the course of the season for Town alone, which is mad. You can't rely on that. And depending how money's spent this summer and who else comes in, I think there's a place for George Seabine to stay in and around the squad. Because I don't think another year training at the great facilities that we've got down at Canalside would do him anything wrong anyway. So for me, I'd keep him around and, like you say, start him in the cup games and see how he goes from there. But again, it's a great finish. It's a fantastic finish, and you can't learn that. That's not something a striker comes in and can't do. Then all of a sudden can score goals like that. He's young and he's raw and he can finish like that. That's exactly what you need to see from strikers when they come through to the first team.
He was really quick over 5 or 10 yards to get,
and that's what matters, isn't
behind and got in front. And as you say, once he got in front, that guy wasn't getting the ball, and he gave the keeper the eyes and dinked it the other way. It was a cracking finish.
And that's what you need. You don't have to be 100-meter fast. Apparently, Barley Mumba is the quickest player we have in the team at the end of this season. He was the fastest player, according to somebody in the club. However, when you look at it on Saturday, at times he doesn't look like the quickest. He looks like he's far away from being anywhere near the quickest. And that's what it's about, though, in football, isn't it? It's not just about straight line pace. It's about reactions. And if you get there first, if you want to get there first, and with Sabine, he looks like he does. And that's can only serve him well in his career.
I think his first touch was the thing that worried me because if you're playing the ball into the big man, he's got to be able to keep it within, playing distance, and it kept bouncing off him a bit. But on Saturday, there were a couple of times ball came into it and it kept it, and he laid it off and did something with it. So that's the bit. But that's the thing I could say about a lot of Town players this year, that their first touch hasn't been what it needs to be. But yeah, if there's anything for him to work on, it's that. But he's got the profile, as they say. That's the new group, isn't it? The word profile. But he's got what you'd want for a big bustling number 9. So yeah, I wouldn't have any qualms with keeping him. And if they give him plenty of experience, I mean, the under-21's obviously finishing the season really well. He's going to be playing in that, whether or not they repeat that success again next year. But if he's getting plenty of experience in the under-21s and in the virtue games and stuff like that, that's all going to be a good thing. And then I think it might be a case of, if we haven't bought another big number 9, that's when he might go after. If we have, then we might replace him. But he might go out after in the December window, so January window, and get 6 months in a League 2 club, something like that, to keep his progress going.
Yeah, and he's physically looks the part as well. Like I don't know if you mentioned it, Gaz, but he's not like I was at that age, a beanpole that you could snap in half. He's got physically, he looks like already like a League One footballer, doesn't he? Like he can hold his own, which is really important. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how he develops. I'm just having a look at some of these comments. CID says we need some wingers, faster centre backs, and some bigger lads who don't get bullied in midfield. May will score goals if you play to his strengths. But if this January window's anything to go by, I'm not really sold on Markham. Terrible transfer window. Mark Harrison says Seabine is the new Haaland. I don't think he's the only person to have said that. Keith Robinson says, I think that's what we've missed this season. Strong striker like Ife. Ewan Roberts. Boom. Good old Ife.
Does he wear contact lenses like Ife did, though? That's the thing.
Yeah. So, all in all, really good day. Nice way to round off the season. If not a disappointing season, but at least finished on a high, which is important going into pre-season. Going back to what CID said about the transfer window, then is there anybody that you would like to see as I mentioned about Humphreys, but is there anybody maybe we've had on loan you'd like to see come back? Bobby Wales, or is there any?
Bless him. Bless him.
No.
Who should we? Anyone we should bring in? Who would you see if we could let go? I mean, there's quite a bit of work to do, isn't there?
Yeah, well, we're just tucked up though out with these players we've got. We're paying top end League One, bottom end Championship wages to some of them. Our ability to offload some of that. I mean, look at Watmore. I mean, what an absolute waste of money Watmore's been. You know, now he might come back next season fit and be the player we thought we'd signed. Who knows? But you know, I think the loans in general, Cam Humphreys apart and Castledine, I guess. You know, Feeney was hot and cold, wasn't he? I didn't really see much in Feeney that I thought Alves, we didn't see enough of Alves to decide, but I think he's probably going to be in and around the Leicester squad this year, I would think. I'm not sure he'll be a starter at Leicester, but he'll be in and around the squad, I would think. So I'm not sure we're going to have much choice. Humphreys may be the one that's available because obviously Ipswich have got promoted. He wasn't in and around the Championship squad. He's not suddenly going to be in and around the Premier League squad. And if you believe I was down in Ipswich last Saturday night, and if you believe the locals, you know, they're going to spend big. The intention is to spend big in the transfer window. So if they do that, he's even further away from a chance. So he's genuinely one that might be available and on the table, but would he get picked up by a Championship club, Nick? I don't really know. So I'd like to see Cam Humphreys come back if we can. But I think then you've got to make some way. So Kane and or Evans has got. I mean, what Anthony Evans adds to our team, I've absolutely fucking no idea. I don't know what he adds to any team, that bloke. He's got fabulous hair.
Got nice hair.
He's got fabulous hair. So you know, I like. You know, I mean, he's another one that looks like he's got the physicality. He's a big lad. You would expect him to have somebody doesn't. You know, Herbie Kane's borrowed his knees off Kilroy, so you know he's about as much use as a chocolate fireguard 2/3 of the season. So I think if you make a bit of room in that midfield, I'd like Cam Humphreys. We do need some width and pace, and I thought that's what we got with Barley Mumba, but we didn't. And then the striking conundrum, which I know Ian's got strong views on, I think, but the striking conundrum for me is one that is probably going to be the key, as whether we go up, because if we buy another centre half, we'll be fine. You know, at League One level, we're fine. We've enough bodies in there, but it's about scoring goals, and that's where for me, in the second half of the season, we've just not scored enough goals at vital times and then seeing games out. So.
But then it's what you'd blame that on. I still blame it on the defence. I think with the back three, with Murray Wallace playing in it, we're so deep, there's no support up top. It doesn't matter who plays up top. That's the issue. First time we don't do against Wimbledon. Again, they're on the beach. I understand that. Two up top or Alfie May supported by a couple of guys out wide. I know Hannes plays in the middle. But we look like a total different team. That's the issue. If Murray Wallace plays 46 games next year in the back three, we ain't getting anywhere near top six. We just can't. It undermines every bit of the rest of the field, or it did with the way we played this year. Maybe it is different next year because there's different players about. But again, I fundamentally believe if this is what we face again with the centre-backs that we had most of this season, we won't be challenging anywhere near the right end of the field. It's a tough one this year. Reece Healy's got another year. So when I see how he does, the amount of money we've spent on strikers is unbelievable. I think I chucked it together. Is it 5 to 6 million, we reckon? If you look at rumoured amounts between Dion Charles, Bojan Radulovic, Alfie May, and Joe Taylor.
And imagine what we're paying in wages
plus Reece Healy
on them. It must be $100 grand a week.
It's unbelievable. So we ain't going to go out and get another couple of strikers, are we? Because I'm pretty sure even Kev with his free spending over the last few years, there's going to be a limit. And is it even going to be as much as it was last year? Who knows at this point? But when you've got so few people leaving and the squad has failed as it has done this year, how are you going to churn and turn? Because you've got players that are on wages that they haven't warranted. So if anybody else is going to come in for them, they ain't going to pay what we're currently paying. Or you're going to struggle to find them. Or they've been injured, like you say, with Watmore. Who's going to take Watmore? No one's going to struggle to get anybody to come and take him. Same with Reece Healy. I know he went to Barrow on loan, played a few minutes, and then that was him done for the season. Herbie Kane went to Plymouth, did okay for a few games, got injured. So again, all these players, Anthony Evans, again, he's barely played for us at all. I always make that comparison. Everyone gave Ben Wild shit. At least he was there and playing. Evans came in a very similar time and offered, well, no more, to be totally honest, a lot less. We've got all these players that have failed now for more than one season, and they're on long-term contracts. And we need to change the squad because the squad as it is clearly, I think, to everybody's analysis, nowhere near good enough to be where Town fans and the club, it seems, expect the team to be next year. the work they've got on to change that around is pretty epic and going to be tough to do in one summer. It's going to be very, very tough to do in one summer. And again, I'm skipping your agenda a little bit here, Nick, but looking through the teams of looking at the teams who's in this division next year, I think it's tougher than this year. It's much tougher than this year. You've got Leicester coming down. You've got Sheffield Wednesday. They're going to be a little bit different. I don't think they're necessarily going to do a Cardiff, but you've got Oxford, right? Then you've got all of the playoffs at the moment, either Stevenage, Bolton, Stockport and Bradford, right? Stevenage, I'm not too worried about them next year. I think they've got it really right this year. And if they go up, fair play to them, they'll have deserved it. If they don't, I think they might have a little bit of a Leyton Orient kind of season, the one after where, okay, it doesn't quite go as well as they expected it to. But you've got 3 teams of the 4 there that are going to be challenging. You've got Luton and you've got Plymouth that ended the season really, really strongly. Then the next 3, Mansfield Town ended the season phenomenally, right? Kind of. Then you've got Blackpool that do spend money. I know it's failed for them under Bruce last year and they gave them some really awful contracts, but generally they spend quite a bit. Reading, they're not poorly back. So you're looking at 12, 13 teams all of a sudden. The thing that Town have fucked up on is we are now in traffic. We're in League One traffic because we didn't get out quick enough. And when you've brought in League One players on wages that you might see at bottom of the Championship and it's not working and you need to move them on and you're stuck in that traffic, it's a fucking tough job to get that right. This is what we found out last time. It took us a long time to get back to the Championship or Division 1 as it was then, because this is what happens. If you don't bounce, it gets harder and harder and harder and harder. And with all these players on massive contracts, it's a tough summer ahead.
So do you not think that the existing squad, we can't get out of that existing squad what we need to be successful at top end? No matter, you could bring Pep in as manager and you're saying that those players haven't got it in them to be top end then?
I think the way the club has been run on the transfers that it's made over the last 3 or 4 years is nothing short of a joke, to be totally honest. And I don't want to blame individuals for that, but if you're looking at the makeup of the squad today and the players that have come in that have had injury records prior to joined Town, and then had similar injury records, it's not a surprise to us as fans, is it? A lot of them. Like you're looking at players that have been injured elsewhere and you're thinking, well, why have we brought them in? Or you're looking at players that have fallen out of favour at clubs because they were good a few years ago and then they've come to us like Freddie Ladapo. I know it was a little bit, these extenuating circumstances there, the way in which he joined, but Dion Charles, Bolton obviously thought he wasn't right for them anymore, but we thought, oh, hang on, we'll get something out of him because we still think he's ready. That kind of mindset that's gone on over the last few years at Town, in my opinion, is why we are where we're at the moment with the squad, build up as it is. And I don't think the squad as it is today can succeed regardless of who's in charge. I think it's that imbalanced with next to zero athleticism in the final third. And we're a very one-dimensional team when it comes to attacking. I think we started the season all right, but again, there were issues. And the longer the season went on and other teams could look at those issues and take advantage of those issues as they did, that's why we ended as we ended. And I just think it's on the squad. I'm not saying the managers aren't at fault. I'm not saying that at all, because the manager had quite a big say apparently last summer in the way the players joined and who joined. So obviously there is some blame there. But no, guys, I don't think this squad is close to being good enough as it is today, even next season, especially when you can look at the other teams around as well and how strong I think they're going to be.
I think hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because I was looking back on some of the episodes that we had start the season, and we were generally quite positive with the signings coming in. We were saying, a lot of these have been in the Championship, had experience in getting promoted. There were some good players there, but I think the main problem is, as you said, that Town just seem to have this habit of signing players with long injury records, taking a gamble, thinking, well, they wouldn't be coming otherwise, but if we can get a tune out of these, we could have a great player here. And every single one has failed. You could probably count 5, 6, 7 of those types of signings. And it don't matter who the manager is. When you've got players that are in and out of the squad, Marcus McGuane, David Kasumu, Watmore, Ely, you can't get a settled 11. And this is the problem. It's continuity. You look at Lincoln. How many times are they chopping and changing? You need a stable team, you need a stable squad. And I think that is one of the biggest problems we've had, not just this season, but the season before as well. If you look at Town's injury records, the stats is frightening. And so Reece Sealey, by the way, how is he still here? What's happened there? Because he was down for 2 years and there's something's triggered an extension.
He must have triggered an extension, yeah.
But on what basis?
That 10 minutes
Is
of
he not
Barrow. He's
playing?
played 10 minutes of Barrow. There must have been a clause that
but
says if you
well,
play 10
I
minutes of
think
Barrow,
it's a
then
town
you
thing.
favour.
It's a town thing though, because when Ruben Ruskin came in, you remember he got a new contract at the beginning of this season. Now rumours were that it was due to appearances or some sort of promise made. So regardless of that it being announced as Healy to 2026, there has to have been something in there. Either the town have made an error and just not put it on the release list, but I don't think that's the case. But again, when he signed, like you say, it did say till the summer of 2026, but you can have only 5 appearances, 10 appearances and get an extension. It depends what the club have put in that contract at that time. And I don't think they're going to celebrate the extension like they've kind of done with Cameron Ashier a little bit in the way that's being extended.
Yeah.
But no, Reece Healy as I think typified. But you know what though? I'm saying this with Reece Healy, I will say that his actual goal scoring record at Toulouse prior to going to Watford and getting injured there was good. So I actually don't mind that one so much. I know it's not worked out. Looking at, like I said, Jack Watmore, that's a bit different. I think you can pick issues there because he hasn't played many games recently at all because of his age and, like I say, his injury record. So with Healy, I do get it a little bit more. But again, another wage for another year.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask this as well, and you might know more than me, but I mean, surely the club will have insurance as well on players for injury. So are they paying it, or is he getting paid under insurance? Because if he is, there's going to be no detriment to the club. If he's not, and the club are paying his wages, then it's an absolute shit.
There's usually some sort of insurance policy, but then it doesn't necessarily cover all the surgery, all surgeries and all that type of physio. There's still costs secured by the club if a player is injured, regardless of what coverage they have got on him. But yeah, he's going to be here for another year because who's going to take him for this year? Even if he does go out on loan, when he went to Barrow this season, I'm pretty sure if he came in at 1.2 million, is that the rumoured fee for him?
Yeah.
He ain't going to be on a cheap wage either, is he? He's going to be on a decent whack. So even if he does go out on loan, Town will still have to cover quite a bit of it, you'd expect. So again, it's just another reason why this summer and the transfer business that needs to be done is going to be so hamstrung by the players that we have to keep paying because of their injury record recently and the lack of desire for other teams to come and get them. And I don't understand how Town are going to solve it this summer. It's going to be a challenge.
Ryan Hardy was another one. Injured when we signed him. Why? Why make that signing when he wasn't ready? Yes, he's got a history of goal scoring. Yes, brilliant. But he wasn't physically ready to come in at that point of the season. Surely there's somebody of similar, surely there are other options out there who could have played more minutes for Town. Because again, that was another waste, wasn't it?
Town panicked though. With Hardy though, Bojan Rudolph got injured, if you remember. And he got injured and we went out straight away to bring somebody else in because I think we already realised Bobby Wales wasn't going to be that replacement. So with Ryan Hardy, like you say, he came. It is a strange one. It was a strange one. When he did play though, he did look good. He looked like a proper number 9, didn't he, for at least 2 games. But I think that was a bit of a knee-jerk because we were trying to keep the season alive at that point. That's another one where I look at it and I think, yeah, it's a bit Robbie Williams, like when we signed him with a broken arm and got rid of Gary Taylor-Fletcher years and years ago. I understand it. He looks a little bit crazy, but I think football's forever moving. You have to make, sometimes, strange decisions. I get that. It's just we seem to make an awful lot. Very few decisions seem to be actually straightforward. Every single thing you kind of look at and think, really?
Everyone seems to have a caveat somewhere.
Every time.
There's always something going on, isn't there? Instead of just going out and getting somebody that's fit and proven. But yeah, sorry, Gaz, were you going to say something?
No, I guess like every player's got an asterisk next to the name in it. Everyone.
Yeah, a lot of work to do, and obviously we'll be discussing it as and when players come in. But obviously there's overloan players gone back. There's going to be scope to bring in, but do you think Joe Taylor, is he coming back, or is he? Didn't seem the happiest today. So is he going to want away? Because that could potentially we could recoup some money from him if Alfie May stays. I mean, I don't think we need both, do we? I don't think they both fit in, do we?
I don't think Taylor wants to play for Huddersfield Town. I don't think it's where he sees his future career.
Which is a shame because he's got another 5 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, another 5. Thanks to Mr. Cartwright. Well done, Mr. Cartwright. Thanks for ringing me every week, Mr. Cartwright. Really appreciate it. Yeah. I don't think he sees it. And actually, you have to say, fair play to him, he's gone to Wigan Athletic and proved the point, hasn't he? He's gone to Wigan. If you're a potential manager looking to recruit him and you bring him in for a conversation, he's going to go, well, them wankers didn't know how to use me. Look, I went here and I scored
they did
11 in 13, 11 in 16 or whatever it was that he scored. The guy can score goals at this level. And he's being linked with Lincoln. which I think would be a perfect move for him. But I can't see Lincoln paying either the money we'd probably want or the wages he's probably on. I think that might be the challenge. So that's the next, as you right say, Colin. So to move him, are we now into a cutting our losses scenario to simply clear the decks from a wage point of view so we can bring in some other bodies? Or are we going to stand firm and say, no, you're a proven League One goal scorer, you're going to do it for us?
And the thing is, if Town owe 2 million still on 3 million that's reportedly paid for him, you've got to pay that out the moment you sell him. But the club buying him doesn't pay up front either. So it can actually be a net loss. And I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but that's what can happen. The thing with Joe Taylor is Joe Taylor's about Joe Taylor. Strikers are, right? I get it. But he's quite extreme on it to me. And I think he needs to be the main man at a club. And I think he's always going to end up being a striker at a club that appears smaller than he is. At Town, he's going to have to get rotated because we've got other strikers on similar wages. We have... on paper, players are of a really good stature. So he's going to have to either score every game, and if he doesn't, he's going to be replaced. I don't think Joe Taylor likes that, to be honest, in his career so far. Looking at him, didn't manage it at Luton, at Huddersfield. He always looked like the world on his shoulders a bit when he was starting for us, I thought, and looked quite disinterested at times and frustrated at times on the field. I get it, again, extenuating circumstances, and we could go through the games and explain why it happened. But a team like Wigan, for me, is perfect for Joe Taylor because he's there and he's the main man. He's going to start every week. Even if he has a couple of off games, with the money they're putting into him, he's going to start 9 times out of 10. I think somewhere like Peterborough would be good for him, something like that, where, again, it's a club that can do a little bit better than what Wigan can because of their wage budget. I think their wage budget last year were 2.7 million. It were really low for League One. And again, I think next year, if he goes to a similar club, he'll score goals, but not. I don't think that team will ever achieve too much, but I think that's where Joe Taylor is. So he seems like a bit of a nightmare to manage for everybody, to be honest. There's always things leaking out, which people say is from his agent. Who knows if it is or isn't, but sometimes rarely there's smoke without fire. I'd be surprised. Like I say, he doesn't want to, visually or reading what it seems to be leaking out, he doesn't look like he wants to be a Town player next year. So I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, but I don't think we're the right fit for him and he for us anyway. So I'm not actually too fussed what happens with Joe Taylor. But with the money involved, again, it's just another one to move on because of the way you have to pay transfer fees out if he leaves before the end of his contract, unless we've paid it all up, which I doubt we have, because normally it's paid out over the course of the contract, and that could be another reason why his contract is so long, because he makes the payments lighter each year. So there's going to be a lot owing on him. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, but he's probably going to be another loan if he does go out.
Yeah. Keep him, says Daz, 2608. Anthony Hinchcliffe says no pressure for Taylor at Wigan. No backbone. Yeah, and I suppose there is a bit of that, isn't there, that Wigan fans, I can't imagine, to be overly vociferous if he misplaces a pass, or if it seems that there's more pressure at Town, and look, with the big clubs there is, isn't there? He's not like he's at Bradford where they're just happy to be at League One level and everything's a nice day out, and but I think it's a shame because like you can see there is potential there, but I think you're right, Ian. I think he has to be the star man, and you're just not going to get that when you get to top end of League One and above, because the clubs are bigger, there's better players. So he's going to have to learn not to be if he's going to want to climb higher and be a success, unless he wants to stay down the bottom end of League One his entire career. But well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Hursty says the goalkeeping situation is an interesting one too. Will Chappers be number one? Lee Nichols sold his house, so maybe on his way. Who knows? Yeah, goalkeeping, bit of a tough one, isn't it? We've got Anik for another season. Zaynab, it said on the website they were discussions. Yeah, they were unsure on him. Lee Nichols, is he going to stay? Do you think? He's had a lot of problems with concussion injuries. He's been in and out. His form's dipped up and down. Do we think maybe it's time for a change? We've got Chappers to come in. Do we need to bring someone else in potentially?
What's his contract situation, Lee Nichols? Because am I right in thinking he
got another?
He signed relatively
two
recently.
Yeah,
and hasn't he just had a kid? So maybe the house sale is to do with maybe wanting a bigger house for his family. I don't know.
He's still the best goalkeeper in the existing pool, even if you chuck Chapman in. He's still the best goalkeeper. You would imagine he's automatic number one choice. I mean, the Zanev thing, I mean, he had no to do in fairness against Wimbledon, but he actually made a really good save at 1-0.
Yeah, he did.
really good save, which would have made it 1-1, and then a minute later we scored the second goal.
Yeah.
So he didn't have much to do, but yeah, I'm not, as I say, with respect to the lad, I'm not really sure that's where I'm not sure that's a pool we should be fishing in. I think if you're bringing in another keeper, if we're going to spend more money on keepers, they have to be challenging Nichols. Otherwise, what's the point of Chapman? What's the point of having these lads, bringing them in, sending them out on loan, giving them extended contracts if you're not going to give them a chance to compete for the number one slot as the number one goalkeeper? And Goodman was a bit of a disaster, so I think rushing out and signing one on loan probably isn't a thing for me. So and Anik, if I had a choice between Anik and Zanev, by the way, Zanev's looked a better goalkeeper than Anik in the games he's played, ironically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, third choice goalkeeper's shouldn't be top of our list of things to worry about. But I don't think Nichols is going anywhere. He'll be another one that's on tidy money.
Yeah. And let's not forget we finished 9th. Do we class that as top end? No, we don't, mate. I think we're just trying to kid ourselves that we're top. I mean, we are established league, as we said before. We're an established League One club now, aren't we? We're not a Championship club anymore. And we're not, as Daz says, we're a mid-table almost League One club, aren't we, at this moment in time? So I just see so many parallels with Bolton. Came down thinking they'd probably come back up, and look at them, they're still not back, are they? It's just not as easy as that. Let's discuss, because I've seen a couple of comments on here about the management situation, and obviously it's a sensitive situation and it's difficult to really speculate too much, but there's a lot of rumours at the moment that Liam Manning might not be coming back, and there's rumours that the job's been offered to Steady and Drury. Obviously, we've not seen anything there confirmed, but surely, guys, we need to get this sorted soon, don't we? Because we've got to start planning. We need to be in contact with players. We need to know what system we're playing. As crazy as it sounds, we've got 3 months and we're back in it, aren't we? So I would expect an announcement soon, wouldn't you, over the next week? No, definitely.
It's after the Wimbledon game, Drury's interview, it sounded like he didn't know what was happening and that nobody had communicated with him. Certainly, I think they felt like they were a bit out in the, I can't remember what he said, but it was along the lines of, the job shouldn't stop sort of thing. So I think, I don't think they know or knew anything at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if Liam Manning doesn't come back. I'm not really sure how you do.
If he was coming back, I think the club would have announced it already.
Yeah.
I think for the purpose of this episode, I think we can just preface it saying if Manning comes back, great.
Yeah.
He's earned that right. Obviously, he had to walk away from something that happened in his personal life, which is truly horrific. And obviously, we all sent our best. And if he comes back, he's earned that right to have the summer and crack on as town manager. But I think, like you say, football, it's so quick. The boys will be back in training in 4 or 5 weeks. It's not that long until they are back on the grass. So I think it's more of a question at this point of, okay, if Manning comes back, great. Anyway, let's just pretend to ignore that. Is it Stead and Drury, or is it somebody else? Because like you say, Nick, it's so quick, the turnover before the next season starts again. All these clubs always complain about if they miss out on the playoffs, they haven't had enough time to build for next season. It's a harder off season because obviously they've played games for 3 weeks longer. That's how important it is to clubs, and we're in that time period at the moment. And from what we're aware of, it seems to be we're still in that kind of, we don't actually know just yet. But the club must know at this point, surely. They must know what they're doing. It's just still don't know what I want, to be totally honest. Stead and Drury, end of the season, again on field. If you ignore the scoreline and the last 15 minutes of games and substitutions made in those moments, it looks fantastic. But again, it's very different coaching for 7 games at the end of the season or 8 games, whatever it was, to running your own off season, bringing your own players in, stamping your own imprint on the club. It was only a couple of years ago or a few years ago when Danny Schofield came in and the players basically hounded him out after 9 games. We had Dwayne Holmes, if you remember, kicking a dugout or a responsible ball on the way in. It's different to control players over when you are permanently in charge than it is over a few games at the end of the season. But I don't know what you guys stand on it. I'm all a bit lost on it. I don't know what's for the best. I think the fans like them, which is really important, really, really important, because for too long we've had coaches, I think, where fans haven't taken to them, such as Lee Grant, he might have started all right. Andy bought fully in, didn't you?
Fully, 100%.
And you've already dropped LinkedIn
Team
once.
Grant.
You've dropped a LinkedIn reference once today. You've channeled your inner Lee Grant already. Guys are having a look at you at that point, and I thought you were going to have a word. Although he's still not mentioned your Hey Dude shoes just yet, which you are a proper town
he's got another pair at home. But he's got two pairs of Hey Dude shoes.
I've got full Castore
That's
top
not
underneath.
Castore, is it?
Of course
Is it?
is.
Did you have Hey Dude trainers prior to the sponsorship deal?
He did. No, he put some. He sent a photo
He were
to
down
his.
to shop as soon as he got in.
He did. Well, he put a photo of them Hey Dude shoes he bought on his breakfast bar, which set my OCD off. You don't put your shoes on a break. Don't put your food where you put shoes. Put your shoes where you put food.
Did you put a post on LinkedIn when you did it as well? When you bought them?
You should have done.
Private things, my Hey Dude suits.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a black pair of these. But these are almost turned black because I've worn them so much.
Because they're so comfy.
They are
Quality
so
shoes.
comfy.
Quality shoes, ladies and
They are the
gentlemen.
best shoes I've ever had.
If Hey Dude want to send Andy a free pair, that'd be great. Yeah.
You're listening. I would 100%.
Are you getting secret sponsorship deals we're not aware of, Andy? Is that what's happening here?
No, I just really like them. I think a couple of things on the Manning thing to get away from my shoes now. I think, first of all, the club needs to be applauded for the way that it handled it and the way they've looked after him and what they've done. So a lot of credit to them. I'm with I don't think he's coming back, and I think the delay in announcing it is probably because they're talking to other options. Because for me, Stead and Drury, we're conflating the eloquent way they both speak as being a reason to have them. And I'm watching. I loved watching Steady's press conferences in particular. Absolutely outstanding stuff, but that's not been replicated on the pitch. So they've had that 7-8 game trial almost. And what have we ended up with? 2 wins out of 7 and still the losing points in the last 15 minutes of the game. So for me, I think we need experience. So I think they should still remain. Now, whether they'd want to, having been given the opportunity, and then they might feel it as a little bit of a step back to go, actually, I don't want to go back to being a striker coach or whatever role Drury was playing. But my view is we cannot afford to get this one wrong, and we've got it wrong in the past, and I think it needs to be an experienced manager with those two helping him. Who that is, I asked a co-pilot earlier on today to give me some options, and it brought one of them up as Duff. So he said that Duff was.
Great
so that's how
suggestion.
much you should put.
Great
Story you should
suggestion.
put into what co-pilot tells you.
Yeah, I slop.
I slops there for you. But I just think it needs to be somebody who can be consistent, and that's been the thing. As Drury himself has said, we have suffered for the fact that we've not been able to go right. We're playing whatever style we're playing. It's chopped and changed. They've had different voices. They don't know what's expected of them. I think it all comes from Lee Grant being overcomplicated and over detailed when it wasn't going the way that he wanted it to, and that's affected the confidence. So, and I've said this before. I know that the club have got psychologists, because I spoke to somebody at the club and asked the question, and they have got psychologists in place, sports psychologists. That's a role that he's looking at for me, because whoever it is, and I have no idea who it is, and if you're a LinkedIn connection of mine, I'm really sorry. That is something we need to look at, because whoever is helping them on the mental side of the game, it's just not being played out on the pitch.
Hasn't it?
Yeah.
Man up your pussies and get playing.
Get your finger out, you
Get
wanker.
them onto the pitch.
Stop being shite and
Tosser.
play good
No,
football.
Well, let me ask you a question then, Andy. Right, so you're judging Drury instead as not being good enough / ready on the basis of the 7-game trial they've had.
Yeah.
If they'd not been given a 7-game trial and manning the team the season out, we finished 9th and he got binned, and we promoted the assistant coach to be the manager, would you feel the same way in the basis that because when you look at his CV, right, he's worked at Man United, he's worked at Valencia, he's worked at Brentford, he's more experienced as a coach than Lee Grant ever was, right? And he's worked in our environment. You know, I was watching the Southampton game today, and the Southampton manager was their under-21s manager, who got promoted when they got rid of whatever his face was. Now, so this is not a new phenomenon for clubs to take existing coaching staff and give them the main job as a matter of course. So would you feel differently, do you think, if you hadn't seen the 7 games and you were only basing it on them as individuals?
So. I don't think so. You're absolutely right. Drury in particular is a very talented and very capable coach by the sounds of it. And there's lots of examples of first-time managers getting clubs promoted. I mean, what was it? McKenna did it with Ipswich. It took them through the divisions. There's probably several others that I can't recall. But I just feel like it's the wrong decision. I think we need to get an established name in, Ironically, Duff would be an absolutely outstanding candidate for the situation that we're in. That's never going to happen, I appreciate. But somebody with a consistent way of playing that can, because we're not going to be able to move players out. We're not going to be able to do that big 10 or 15 player churn that we probably need to do. And they're looking to change the profile of the players, the physicality thing like Killer was talking about. That we're so far off it when it comes to the demands of League One football. That's what they need to do. But whether they can do it this time or not, I don't know. But that needs experience for me. That needs the people who know how to create a climate, create a culture, and be able to get people to be part of that. You know, they'll cliche buying in. And I'm not sure that a coach can do that. I think we need to get somebody who's got an experience of doing it. That is a go.
I think that the challenge for the club to find that person, for me, is twofold. One, if you're an experienced coach, you look at how Kevin has dealt with previous incumbents, and you just think, unless you're like, I don't give a shit, me, 6 months to pay me off, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But that generally harms their career, so they don't want to do that. So that would be a problem. I think the other is our squad movement this year is limited, so you're going to have to get more out of what you've already got, and you've had Lee Grant, Liam Manning, Stead and Drury. All three of those cohorts have been unable to do what we need them to do. I would actually argue them two have probably got nearest, bar Lee Grant's early season form. I'd argue them two have got nearest to getting the most out of that squad as to the others. So, and then if you're going to go down the route of inexperienced coach again, you might as well go what you've got. Because I'm with you. I don't think we're getting promoted next season. I think this is now become a 2 to 3 year project to get this club out of the league. And how many experienced League One coaches that us lot and the guys online, the people online, and the people on Twitter that they're going to accept as the right standard or the right quality are going to come knowing it's a 2 to 3 year project in League One. Probably none. So I think the club have got themselves into a bit of a hole with this. I think we're caught between a rock. And in fairness to the club, they'll be damned if they do and they'll be damned if they don't. So whoever they appoint will be a wanker.
Yeah.
If they appoint St. Drury, they're wankers. So the club can't win. They've got to decide what they're doing, and then we've got to stick to it.
That's my perspective though. So again, I'm with you guys in that I think the team's fucked. I think the squad isn't good enough, and I don't think realistically we've got enough movement this summer unless Kev puts his hand in his pocket again to bring in enough change to instantly make us top 2 material for next season. I think that is a very, very tough ask. Quickly, when you're talking about Drury getting appointed, he's only been here a few months himself, though. You're looking at other clubs that have done it, but they've got some form of their way that they've worked on for ages, and that's the problem with us. We're an empty vessel of a club when it comes to what we are. No, we've got a CFO, a CEO now in DTS. Is he permanent? Is he not? We don't know. You're looking at the backroom staff for the actual football team, and they've been promoted because the people above them have gone, and then they've been promoted again, they've gone, and there's so much change. Bar Markham, who's only been here a few months himself, everyone's so new, so you don't have that foundation that's already built to tweak and adjust, which these clubs that finally get it right have got. We don't have that. Lincoln last year was shit, but they stuck at it, and this year they tweaked a little bit more with Skubala, and they got it absolutely bang on. But again, that was built upon foundations that might not look fantastic, might not look exciting, but they were solid enough. We don't have that. My problem with Drury is I think we're going to start this season poorly next year again, because I think we are, again, so far off it. And if that does happen, fans will not be happy regardless of who's in charge, unless it's somebody new with a very new kind of way of playing, because even though it's only 7 games, that's going to be held against him. If we only won 2-7 they ended with 2-7, and we've started with 2-7, it's not going to go well with fans. And it's so important that next season starts well, because this year did start well, but we still had that fan ego thing where we're too big for this division. And hopefully that is kind of going somewhat, because once that goes, I think fans will be better. And when fans are better, the club will be better on field. It's not everything. I'm not going to say that's going to be the difference between promotion and 9th again. But it does make a difference, and it's important that we're all in it together on that side of it. So it's tough for Drury instead, because the team needs so much work doing to it. They are inexperienced. They've got 7 games. They're going to be held to account more than they should do, I think, from fans if it doesn't start well next year. And there's just nothing to build upon. There's no town way. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. The academy is getting it right. The academy is good. Talking to Quinny and John Worthington other week at the sponsors event thing that you didn't bother showing up for, Andy.
Working, got to pay for me.
But again, they talk about Terry Spirit. They're talking about looking at the under-21 team. They're doing really, really well. You've got George Sabine coming through, and you know character-wise, he's perfect. You can see the way he plays on the pitch. He's going to give everything. And it's not just that he's young, because other young players have come through previously, and they don't look the same. They've got issues. He doesn't look like that. And now the academy's going down that way. So there is something there for us as fans to not only be proud of, but to look forward to seeing them getting older, getting into the team and impacting it their way in the town way. Fine. But for a first team, it's changed so much over the last few seasons. We've gone out and got players out of absolutely nowhere that don't seem to fit the way we're playing for no reason other than somebody must have fancied him. And then we've tried to shoehorn him into a system that doesn't suit him, such as Alfie May this year. We've played a system without a big man for Alfie May, which is what he needs to score the amount of goals that he scored over his entire career. And we thought, nah, we won't do that, but we'll bring him in. That can't continue. That's the biggest change that needs to happen. That is probably on Chris Markham. That's the most important part for me now. It's not the actual manager. Who that is, don't really care at this point, as long as the rest of it, the transfers that we bring in are fucking right. Because last year was poor, and that's an understatement. The year before was poor. That was another understatement. There's so many poor transfer windows that we've gone through. That has to be sorted out. Stop signing players with injuries. Simple things like this. Stop signing players that have got injuries that are really difficult to get over, and they've got high reoccurrence rates. Just do that first, and then worry about the on-field stuff when it comes to your managerial tactics, because the rest of it undermines everything else. And I think that's the biggest issue. Who comes in, the name, it doesn't really matter. It can be anyone at this point, because again, I don't think anybody could have made that work. The behind-the-scenes aspect of it has to change, and that can't be done on a summer, like you say, guys. It's a couple of years, and I think the sooner everybody realises that, both at the club, because I don't think they did up until maybe now, maybe they are realising, and I think if Stead and Drury come in, that signifies that change for me. I think it signifies a change in intent. Because for Kevin, when he came in, he's talking about big impact. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We've gone out and spent the money on big not big physical strikers, but spent big money on strikers because we're going to do it now. We're going to do it now. We're going to do it now. Stead and Drury isn't that appointment, is it? They're not that. They're like, they're from here to get the people. They are new. They'll learn. They'll get better as the season goes on, hopefully. That's a change in tact for me. And I think that this summer will be the most important thing that us as fans and amateur analysts can look at and say, right, Town are changing their approach here. They're changing their approach because they're going down this route instead of the route that we've tried 3, 4, 5 times over the last few years. But we must have interviewed every manager available anyway. It must be quite easy for Town to go, oh, we'll go with him then, because we must have interviewed every available manager over the last 2 or 3 years.
He said
already.
that when we went to see, he said, you know, every name somebody mentioned, I have talked to him.
A lot didn't want to come, by the sound of it.
No.
Yeah, Kev was pissed. He was pissed that night, wasn't he? Not drunk pissed, but like anger pissed. In that he said managers come in and they tell you they're going to play
steaming this way. Yeah.
He said,
you're my best mate. You are.
Yeah. Like you and Cam Ash.
Yeah.
Andy. But no, it was visibly and audibly frustrated in managers saying they're going to do one thing, coming in and doing something totally different. And we had an agenda point that they've totally skipped it, where this season went wrong.
And had a chance, mate. Right. Get it in yet.
Where this season went wrong, but Lee Grant changed the way he played football. Lee Grant played 4-2-3-1, and it was doing okay. And then we battered Mansfield by bringing Balker back in. He didn't want to bring Balker back in. Talking to Rads, my mate. They had an issue with Grant. They didn't like him, so they didn't want to play him. But eventually, Balker came in. We went down to Mansfield, battered him 3-1. Looked fucking unbeatable that day. We were fantastic. Yeah, right, yeah. Went to Luton on Tuesday. Do you remember what we did? Didn't bother attacking. Yeah, we just sat deep, no attack, no press, no nothing. Yeah. We played Wimbledon, drew 3-3 after that, where we battered them all game. But Wimbledon scored 3 goals out of absolutely nothing. And okay, it was a draw, and people were frustrated. After that, we went to Cardiff, 3-2. We lost because we were pretty open playing 4-2-3-1. It's totally changed the system. Totally changed it to this 3-5-2. Played Northampton, drew 1-1. Played Wigan, drew 1-1. That changed everything this year because we went from being brave, being attacking, being front foot, being Northern football, to being the rest of the season shite that we saw. It was just so negative and so defensive, and so we're not brave anymore. We're within ourselves. We're just kind of eke out victories and results instead of actually going at teams, and that was when it changed. And I think that's what Kevin was referring to.
Well, and I think that's what got him the sack. You know, reading between the lines of what Kevin said, you know, Kevin actually was acknowledging the fact that we'd had an unbelievable number of injuries. Whose fault it is, you can argue. But when I asked him, you know, when he was talking about Lee Grant, I said, well, why did you get rid of it then? He said, because all I could see was decline. So I think I'm with you. I think Lee Grant's change of mindset, and when he shit himself, I mean, for me, it was Burton away was the turning point in the season. I mean, that was when I knew we weren't going up, that we weren't getting the playoffs that day. That team showed zero backbone. They'd no interest in fighting for the manager or for themselves. And then the next time I saw it was Mansfield at home, which I'm still mad about that. You know, the lack of professional pride from those people as professional individuals still irks me now. But yeah, I think I'm with you, and I think it was about, what would that be, Christmas time roughly? Was that when he changed tack? Something like that. Was it after?
Yeah,
Christmas? Just before, and that's when he went to 3 at the back, and we became 5-3-2, 5-4-1, fucking sideways, backwards, sideways. So yeah, the season was lost at that point. Manning came in and had a really bright start, and then he just did exactly the fucking same. So that does, and I don't know whether Kev was trying to tell us that was the same with Manning when we met with him, whether he was trying to include Manning in that whole, people tell me they're going to do one thing and then they do another thing. I don't know whether Manning was included in that, but
maybe with Stead and Drury, you can force them to play a little bit differently, and that you've got your older managers coming in that have done it elsewhere, and they've got that, well, I'll do it my way. This is the way it's worked at other clubs I've been at, and this is, I know League Van's a little bit different, but maybe that's why it's looking like it's most likely to be Stead and Drury, if the rumours are to be believed, because again, we can mould them a little bit more into the way we want to play football from Markham and above, and that side of it. Whether that's right or wrong, that's something that will play out this season. But maybe that's why they're being linked, because they can be not. Forced.
So what do you and Nick think of it? He's clearly a no, thank you, Drury instead. What about you two?
It's interesting, isn't it? There's a big split, I think, on the fans. You look at the message boards, and some really like him. I think the way they talk it, I think that's it. They just want someone that speaks with passion, talks common sense. And I think that the football has been a lot better, but it's a results business, isn't it? And you look at the goals we've conceded late, not just one game, but several. You think, oh. But having said that, you look on the flip side, we've brought in managers who are experienced, and that's got us nowhere either. So I think personally, it's all down to the players. Personally, if they came in, I wouldn't be devastated. They'd have my full support. I'm kind of 50-50 on it either way, because I think, to me, it's all down to the squad we've got. It's all down to the players we bring in. If we haven't got the right players, if we have a squad similar to what we have now, we're going fucking nowhere. It don't matter whether it's Stead and Drury or another manager. We're not going to get this squad, I don't think, out of this league, because it's just not capable. So for me, I'm all for giving them a chance. If it was them, I'd be happy. I'd get behind them. I think you've got to. They talk sense. They've played with more freedom. We have scored goals. We've just got to find a way of tightening up at the back. But again, that's player concentration. A lot of it, they can't get on that pitch and stop Sorensen from fucking passing it straight out for a goal kick in 99th minute, only for them to boot it down other end and score. Do you know what I mean? So it's, the players have to take some responsibility as well in those situations. So, to answer your question, I think we should give it to them. I think we should give them a go, because honestly, like the experience we brought in hasn't cut the mustard. So, to me, if they want the job, I don't know who would come in. Do you know what I mean? I don't see any managers out there available that will come in, demand the respect of the supporters, of the players immediately, and get us playing this great football that we're all after. I don't see who is there that would want the job to do that. So why not give them a go?
We need, as Town fans, a manager that can speak like us, and it's not just a Yorkshire accent, because David Wagner came in and it was nothing to do with his accent. It was the words that he was saying, and now they fit that bill perfectly. I will say that much. I'm 50-50 on it, because again, I think if it's a slow start next season, it's going to be a tough job for them. I am worried about some of the tactical decisions that they've made towards the end of the season, but it's only 7 games. Maybe you can learn that. I'm of the belief that you can't. I think as a very a slightly less amateur manager than most, not quite professional. I might go semi-professional. These things you've got and these things you don't have, and sometimes you can feel games out and you know when to make substitutions. You know what not to do. There's been moments in this season where I think they've missed, in the last few games, where they missed what was quite obvious, I think, to most, and that's worrying. That is worrying from a tactical point of view. But maybe they can learn it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can feel their way into it, because again, the last game of the season was much better. I think this conversation's very different if we don't win a Wimbledon, which is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous situation to be in, but that's the reality of it. I think if I think
it's a really fair point, because if they can't show that they learn lessons and learn lessons quickly, then they're never going to be getting a first team manager, head coach, or whatever. If you can't demonstrate that, and I think you're right. In the other issue I see is I see players that that don't look fit. And I think that's a real basic. And I think that's also one of my concerns with Grant and Manning was it was way too much classrooms, analysis, working on shit. You know, you need physical fitness. You're a professional athlete.
League as well.
You know, you should be able to play 90 minutes twice a week if you have to. And we've got too many players who can. And I think that's part of the reason towards the end of the season, it'd been a long season, arduous. They've, you know, and the players are affected by all of these comings and goings, I'm sure. Because you say, you know, Grant didn't like Bolker, didn't like Grant didn't like Bolker. Manning did like Bolker clearly because he played him, and so you know all of these dynamics. And I just think those 3 games were probably just too far mentally and physically, and that's what they've also got to work on for me. So I think you're right. I think tactically and changing the game, I think they can learn as long as they learn it. How many times have we said that about Mandy's me and you about if he just never seems to learn his lesson? But also, are they you know, can they take it to basics? Can we get 11 fit lads on the pitch who can last 90 minutes and don't switch off in the 112th?
And can they control the mind? Can they control the attitude of the players? Because footballers are generally knobheads.
Yeah, good point.
In general, they're tough. And like, you're right, guys. We were fucking bored of podcasting at the end of this season. We'd done enough. I'd done more than enough by halfway through. Never mind by the end. Players feel that as well, not from our perspective, but they want to go on order. They want nothing to do by the end of the season if it's not going well. They're done, as we saw, I think, against Mansfield at home. But we said, Drew, I don't know. I don't know what else is out there either. But I think if they do get the gig, they'll need support because around them there isn't particularly much. When you look at Curse, is he still available around? I think at the moment, but maybe you get a senior coach to help them out behind the scenes with other stuff that they will have to learn.
Job as well. He's got to be the director, sporting director. You'd think that he's got an element of being the sage man to go and have a conversation with. But how much experience he's got, I don't know. Again, he's got Huddersfield at his heart, Huddersfield Town fan. So we'd have a CEO as a Town fan. We'd have a director of football as a Town fan. We'd certainly have Steady as a Town fan. I don't know what Drury's footballing, but born and bred in Huddersfield. So you've got the full Huddersfield heart of the organisation, which is what we want to represent our area and us. But then you worry that how much experience have they actually got to be able to work out what to do in situations like we've had this season, unless they have sat down and gone, right, what has this taught us, and what are we going to do to make sure that we can deal with it next season?
Well, you could say the same as Skabula in his first season at Lincoln. What's he been teaching boats, kicking beanbags, you know, and suddenly he's the head coach at Lincoln. But what the Lincoln fans did is what Ian says is they accepted it was what it was. They went with them on the journey and they could see. And I guess that's the other thing. We want to see it. If they get it wrong, they get it fucking wrong. But if they get it wrong because they're trying to win a game, or they get it wrong because they've made a mistake and they recognise it, then that's fine. Because that's one thing I did like. I think you said about him speaking well. The one thing I liked about Drury was at the end of the season, he wasn't high-fiving because the performance improved. He acknowledged it was a fucking failure.
Yeah.
He acknowledged this is a failure. It's all right being all fucking great performance, but it's a failure. And I think that was the first time I've seen anybody at the club in a long time acknowledge the fact, fucking this ain't good enough.
We also had a centre-back go up front against Wickham, I think, as well, which I'm fully in, actually. I've changed my mind. I'm fully behind Drury. And I did say, after Drury, according to Jimmy Mack, who was sat in the Wimbledon fans, called, I don't know, it wasn't Wimbledon. It might have been Jackson. He called him a soft southern C-U-N-T.
He did, yeah.
And I said, that's fantastic. And if he gets a job, I will work for Town in whatever capacity for free. No problem, because that is the support you need from a manager. For the fans, I think it helps, doesn't it?
To me. It's like a t-shirt.
It's a nice mindset and attitude. To have. We've not had it enough. I think for Town fans, that goes such a long way in buying an extra 3 or 4 games anyway.
Yeah.
Before the fans turn on them. But no, I'm fully in now. Said and Drury for me.
There you go.
But on the other hand, if it was them, surely they would know that already and have announced it, because you would think the situation probably is not going to change over the next week or two. We obviously need a decision. So if they'd have known it was them, they must know what Liam Manning is doing by now. So surely if it was them, they would have announced it already, would they not?
That's my view on it. The delaying, if there is an announcement to be made, is because they are talking to prospective candidates. And I think that's the right thing to do. Whether they then go there and appoint Sid and Drury, I think you've got to consider other options as well.
Nothing's leaked though, Andy. Like there's no other manager being leaked.
It's unusual, isn't it?
Generally, his interviews with somebody else, it would have leaked.
Yeah.
Although, like I say, Kev's interviewed loads of managers previously, so he's probably getting everyone's number anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not too hard for them to contact to contact other managers. But no, I think it's probably 60-40. in my eyes on
Yeah,
Stendrew getting the gig. But I've heard nothing. I don't think anyone's heard anything from anything official on it.
No.
The first thing most of us saw, I think, was on Twitter yesterday when it started suggesting that he was considering offering them the gig.
Yeah.
And normally there is a bit of a heads up for people if something's going to be announced and whatnot, and there hasn't been on Stead and Drury, not that I'm aware of anyway.
No.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See how it pans out. Whoever it is, they've got a massive job on. And I think going back to it again, Ian, where you said about where it's gone wrong. For me personally, I think we're still lumbered with these players who get injured for a living. Marcus McGuane, we've got Bolker. You know, two pivotal players to how we play get injured all the time.
Yeah,
and we've so many of those. And if we're stuck with these players, we're never going to get a settled side, and that's going to hamper whoever comes in. So there needs to be some degree of turnover to give us half a chance.
Yeah.
You want to see pace and you want to see physicality up top. If we've got that, we've got half a chance. But
I do think they'll bring some kids in next year. You know, I see. When was the last time Swear's been linked with Middlesbrough? I think when was the last time we had a kid linked with anybody from his loan at Hartlepool, I believe. You know, Iapenda. I mean, if he don't come back and get chucked straight in the first team, then I mean, what on earth? Unless he gets snapped up by somebody, which is a possibility. So you know, you've got them two kids. You've got Seabine. You know, you've got Murray who got on the field. You've got Voss who seems to be on the edge of it. Not sure he's maybe Voss will be one that goes out. So I do think you will see some fresh blood, but I think some of that might come from the academy. I think they'll probably put half a dozen in, chuck a few in, just see if any of them stick a bit like Seabine now. So that at least will give us a bit of variety. I would hope.
Togo and the other upender, George Upender, they think highly of him as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see, because we need to get mobility, we need to get a bit of pace at the back. It wouldn't surprise me to see those two given a bit of a go at some point. Certainly pre-season. I don't know whether they'd be considered for a first team game, although they both play first team games, aren't they? But yeah, there's plenty of talent there. And who else is there in the under 21s?
Ian Togo, bringing my name back into being relevant and cool.
Yeah, there is a pool of players, but it's the mentality the thing for me. And like you said, players who get paid to be injured. I spoke to DTS at a networking event a couple of weeks ago. And he was talking about they want to change the profile, the physicality, and they recognise the problem with the injuries, and they'll do what they can to change that. But it's so much. It's very easy to say that, and that's not being disrespectful to DTS. But if you're on a healthy contract with a healthy wage, and you are trying your best, but just bits keep falling off you, you're not going to go, oh, well, I'll go. You're not going to walk away. You're going to do what you can to protect your livelihood and your family. So I don't blame any of the players for staying, but that makes them incredibly difficult to shift, doesn't it? So yeah, whoever gets it, and hope they've got the club at the heart, and everybody that's around them can help them make the right decisions. But I'm a bit worried about it.
And that moves us on to the next topic on the agenda, which is thoughts on next season, prospects. Now, obviously, it's hard, innit? We're so early. We don't know who's coming in. So we're just purely on the fact of who's come down and who's going up. We're only guessing. But how do you guys see it next season? Do you think we've got a chance to get in that top 2 or the top 6 next time? Start with you, Gaz.
I think top 6 has to be a realistic aim. And we can grumble all we want. We still have a highly paid squad of players who have operated at a higher level. So we've got to be aiming for the playoffs. I mean, but as Ian said, that's not going to be a simple fight. Need to sort our away form out. Our own form under any manager this season's been okay, but we need to sort our away form out, which has been dreadful for quite a few seasons now as well. So yeah, we've got to try and aim for the playoffs. I think the club's communication will be a little bit more circumspect this year, which I also think will help. This constant, we're going to fucking run away with the league. Yeah, implications that they've had ain't going to help. But I'm going to be really tough, Nick. I really do. Wednesday I've got no points deduction because they were going to get -15. Now they're not. The new owners have got money to put in. And although they've got limit, I don't know what the limits are, but I know they've got limits because of the financial issues. But of course, what Wednesday will do is generate 30,000 crowds. So they'll be able to generate, they'll be able to generate revenue unlike any other club in that league, including Leicester, I might add, in that league. So, You know, I can't look beyond Leicester on Wednesday for the top two. I just can't. And then you're into the playoffs, and then you've got, as you say, 3 out of the 4. By the way, I think if Bradford don't go up, they've missed this. I think they'll have missed the chance. They're not going to perform like that next year. You know, and Stevenage, I disagree with you. I think Alex Revell's doing a brilliant job there, and I think they're going to be. They
Would
could
you
well
take
be
him with us.
I don't really know enough about him. I mean, he's sorry, I'm distracted by a giant pigeon outside outside Ian's garage.
Massive. It's a bloody eagle.
Would I take it? I don't know enough about. I mean, if you look at Stevenage, they're everything we haven't been. They're hardworking, disciplined, organised, strong, and look like a League One outfit. No stars for a team, aren't they? Would he be able to create that at Huddersfield Town? Would be my question, and I guess the answer in the short term probably is no. And yeah, if you're in his shoes, unless it's mega money from Kev, why would you walk away from that to come and join us? So yeah, I think Stevenage will still be there or thereabouts. I think they might do a Lincoln. I think they could do a bit of a Lincoln, and then you've got Bolton and as you say, Plymouth, Blackpool. So it's going to be really tough, Nick. Really tough. We've got to be aiming for the playoffs. We have to. That's a minimum a club else I should expect. But hopefully we'll do it in a bit more of a circumspect way, perhaps.
Guys listening, just out of interest, just post whether you think we'll get top 6 next season or not. Andy?
What Gaz said. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult. Two juggernauts of football clubs in Leicester City and Sheffield Wednesday. I think Wednesday have got a huge job to do with their playing staff. And possibly the same with Leicester as well, because they will lose a hell of a lot of players. And it's different problems, isn't it? Leicester will lose a lot of players. Wednesday's players currently are just nowhere near good enough, so they're going to have to get 2 brand new squads, really. And whether they can do that in the time they've got over the close season, I don't know. But yeah, you would expect them to be up there. We should be aiming for playoffs, but we said this last year and we said it the year before. It wouldn't surprise me if we had a similar season to the one that we've had, with the problems that we've got. But if we look at it as a 2 to 3 year project thing, then you can probably cope with that as a season of stability. You know, everybody talks about getting relegated and wanting to be, we can reset. Well, maybe this is the time to reset, but we can't, because we can't get rid of the players. So I don't see it being any different to what we've had this year. But I'll still be there with my hair dudes on and buying all the club stuff in the club shop in the sale. To be fair, I'm not that daft. But yeah, look forward to it. It's part of why we do what we do. We love it, don't we, to a certain extent. So already looking forward
That's
to it.
why we're always fucking miserable.
That's why we're always happy as Larry on here, getting to chat with you lads about stuff. So yeah, be what it'll be. I don't see it being incredibly difficult. So we'll see how we go.
Ian?
Similar to this season, I think it's going to be a scrap top 6. It's going to be a scrap. Whilst similar to this season, I think similar in positions on the table. I'm just hoping it's a lot different on field, because this year felt like a slow impending doom that came a little bit earlier than last season. I think last season we didn't look too bad, and then we had Burton away and absolutely crashed. Whereas this year, felt a little bit different. Again, the entire club needs to change. The entire output needs to shift, because fans don't seem to be enjoying it when you're looking at the numbers going to games. You're looking at responses online. I know you ignore that because most people are bell ends online. We are 4 bell ends when we're online, so I get that. Not as bell ended as other people, it seems to be. Do you know what? I'd actually take that. A bit of an atmosphere change around the club would probably be okay for me for next season. Obviously, you don't want to be bottom half of the table. I'm not saying that's acceptable, not at all. But they have to show some sort of progression, because I think that's what we're missing. It's not just if you finish 9th or 7th or 5th and miss out on the playoffs. It's some progression. It's something that they're working towards, not just saying they're getting to work, but actually visibly getting to work at something. And it's hard to put the exact words to say what that is and needs to be. But there needs to be some sort of progression, because at the moment, year after year after year, it seems to be getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit more depressing, then a little bit more down, then a little bit worse. That has to stop. Last time it was different when we were in this division, because we'd bottomed out in Division 3, got back to League 1, and whilst it were a bit of a slog at times, it were never as bad as it was in Division 3. So the perspective of fans was much different, and the talk around the club was much different. This time round, have we hit the bottom just yet? I think that has to be shown next year to be true, that this is where we're at now. This is the bottom.
Yeah.
And next year's some sort of of improvement upon it, because although we are a position better than last year, is that right? And a point or two better off?
Yeah, I think.
I don't think anybody
certainly
can
a
say
position, yeah.
we're in a better position. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like we're in a slightly worse position to me anyway. I'm just hoping that in that shifts. But it's going to be a slog to make top 6. There has to be a monumental shift in the way the club operates on and off field in the summer for that to happen, for me, for us to be real players at the top of this division. And I think at the moment, it's look, anything can change in football. Teams can finish 20th in this division, stay up, and then next year do really, really well. Leighton Orient came from absolutely nowhere to have a really good season last year. So you can do it if you look out. But on average, clubs that finish seasons like we have this year and have players contracted as we do, and also a managerial situation that's not entirely clear, are up against it to have a successful season the year after. So again, there's a lot to do.
Oh, there's always been. I mean, you look at Plymouth this season. I mean, their fans were up in arms.
They were bottom of the league.
Bottom of the league.
They were
Bottom of the
October.
league. They were dying, and then suddenly they've just absolutely smashed up and narrowly missed. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But I mean, people say it's going to be real. It's going to be a lot harder. I'm not sure about that, because it's never as tough a league as what people think it's going to be. It's still League One after all. It's going to be competitive. I mean, Leicester. I cannot see past Leicester for that top 2, and to me, Plymouth is a big danger, because they finished on a real high. They're going to strengthen again. They've got continuity there with manager. They've got a plan, and it's a fucking tough place to go just because it takes that long to get there. it's always tough. So Wednesday could go either way, but you're going to have at least Bolton or Stockport. They'll be decent. Bradford and I agree with Stevenage. I'm not fussed, but Luton's going to be decent. And then you've even got teams like your Barnsleys who've had a poor season this time, but more often than not, they're challenging up there and thereabouts. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I think personally, if we get 6th spot, I'd be happy next season. I'd be very happy. But I think we'll be about 6th, 7th, around that area.
I think we need progression, because although we look Kev in the eye and he, basically said, he's not going to run out of money, and whilst he's got money, it's all fine. For him, surely at some point he's got to be able to look at it and go, well, that's progression.
Yeah.
I'm finally seeing a direction of travel that shows me we're going in the right direction. Because let's be honest, since he's owned it, we've only gone backwards. Ever since he took over, it's just gone backwards and backwards. So I think to keep his interest and his investment coming, I think we're going to need to. The club's got to demonstrate some forward momentum for him to keep him engaged as well. I think, and I think, and I think the fans, although we're a bunch of whingers, we're actually quite a forgiving bunch, and I think all we want to see is people who give it a good go, and that's the key for me next year, is people who are physically fit, can go for 90 minutes. If you're not good enough on the day, you're not good enough on the day. I can live with that. But we've got to be better, and we've got to believe. There you go. Look, let's go right back.
Has he got a T-shirt?
You're going
to find that in here.
But they've got to demonstrate some belief in what it is, in what we're doing, and where we're going. That's what I was going with that. That we've got a show, we've got a plan, and then we've got to stick to it, for better or for worse. I mean, how many times did we say last year we can't keep sacking fucking managers? Yet here we are. 2 more managers gone. Well, technically 3 lots. We've gone through 3 lots in yet another season. We just can't keep doing it, because whilst we do that, we're never going to get that consistency we need to move forward, are we? So it's a big season in a funny way, because we've got to halt the decline. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. League One's horrible. I know the quality. You're right, Nick. The quality's shit, but it's a fucking grind.
Is this the aim then? We want to finish the season with the same managers that we started with. Just that's progression.
I agree. I completely agree.
Simple objective.
That actually, the board, DTS, whoever it's going to be, and Kev actually show a bit of backbone. And yeah, and it is difficult, because you're right. And the thing about, and I hadn't really thought about it before until you just said it, Killer, about the fact that that's probably why he changes managers so much. It's because they tell him one thing and fucking do another. So maybe also he needs to find himself a manager, or in this case, a management duo, who actually will do what they say they're going to do. This is what we're doing, and we're going to stick to it. And maybe that will get Kev's back in.
Well, managers have done it and then changed it for no apparent reason. We were, under Lee Grant, we were in top six. We were scoring goals. It's not like we were really struggling, and so he changed the system. Like you said, Ian, we beat Mansfield convincingly, and then he went ultra defensive for no reason. I don't. There was no logic to it. Same with Manning. We won 3 on the bounce, and then we went to playing this nothing conservative rubbish football that nobody enjoyed. So I don't understand it. All we want to be is entertained. I think if we entertain, we see the players having a go. We might lose some games 3-2 or whatever, But if we have a go, I don't think there'll be many. I think the fans have to temper expectations. I do. You look at Lincoln Scabala. He wouldn't stay at town. Fans would be saying, "Oh no, it's."
He wouldn't have made 2 seasons.
No, Alexander at Bradford, he wouldn't have stuck either. They were last season. They were from Bradford fans moaning at him, saying, "Oh, you're not doing it," and then suddenly they picked up, and so you've got to just ride it. Sometimes you've got to just ride out those troughs. And I think as long as you can see, like you said, there's a plan, and we're working towards. Like Wagner, when he came in, we didn't get great results initially, but you could see what the plan was. You could see what we were trying to do, and we got behind it, and we give him chance to develop it, and look where we ended up. So I think the fans have to kind of change the mindset to a degree as well. I think we're going to have to accept that whoever comes in, we've got to stick with them now for at least a couple of seasons and see what we're going to do.
It's important that the owner sticks at it as well. I think that's the thing. It's all right saying we need to stop booing fans and booing managers out of the jobs, which is, I think, something fans often throw at other town fans, saying it's our fault. It is, but then, like you guys have said, you have to have people at the club that stick it. You are going to get told X is shit, Y is shit, but don't bite every time. I think that's what we've seen over the last few years. And just as managers can change and adapt and learn and get better in time, I think the club from the top has to do that as well, such as Darren Moore was always going to be our man. He's our man. He's our man. And then a couple of games later, he's gone. And from that moment on, it's continuously happened. Every time it's happened, it's got worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's why he said, tongue-in-cheek, saying we need to have a manager the same at the end of the year than we do at the beginning. But it's more to show the growth behind the scenes in that, no, stability is really, really important. And if in 2 years it doesn't work, then you can change at that point. But constantly doing it every 4, 5, 6 months. And not only that, bringing in managers that play totally different systems on top of it. You just can't run a football club like that and expect to be successful, no matter how much money you've thrown at it. And I think that's what Town have done over the last few years. We've put money in, but there's no consistent path at all, and that cannot continue. Or if it does continue, because Mick McCarthy says it can, we can't expect success because it will not come until that stability is there. And I get it's a double-edged sword that you've got to succeed to get the stability. Yeah, but we've gone so far past being so unstable that we have to, not unstable even, have to stick at something. And they've just got Chris Markham to decide what that is, I guess. I guess it is on him, and he's got to get it sorted now.
Yeah. I mean, we all want top 2, don't we? But I think we've got to accept that the chances of that with some of the teams that's come down, and there are other clubs in better positions than us in terms of squads and in terms of continuity and stability. I think we've got to accept, we've got to be more content with 5th, 6th than first and second, because you're just setting yourselves up for disappointment. I'm sorry to say, obviously we all want that, but the chances are, looking at the previous 2 seasons and the players we've still got and we're going to be lumbered with, the chances of us getting top 2 are very slim. So we'll see. But let's finish on some positives. The thing is as well, what I don't like, everything else around the club has been positive, other than the first team. Well, you look at the stadium ownership, the way that it's all been done out, the improvements, sound system, etc. Then we look at the academy, category 2. We're starting to develop our own players now. We're starting to see, although we're probably not going to see for a number of years yet, big numbers coming through, but the foundations are there now. And then we look at the women's team, puts the point to the women's team, finished champions, won the cup. Everything else around the club that Kevin Nagel's been involved in has been a success. It's just this part of it, which is a major part of it that has just stalled. But I think it would be unfair of us to just focus on that and not to mention the other things that have been good this season. And there are things to be positive about, as much as we're all moaning. And obviously, the men's game is what the main thing that we're here for, what we all go to watch. But it's nice to see that the women's team is doing so well, and we've got the potentially that foundation for young players to come through now, isn't it?
Yeah, totally agree. And you know, there were a couple of high moments in the season. You know, beating Bradford at home was a treat because we all nobody, not even the most ardent Town fan, expected us to win that game that day. They were on fire. They absolutely pummeled us at their place. You know, and that was a great day. Andy fell out with Bobby Poynton, so I don't know whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I just
offered him some direct feedback.
Offered him out, yeah.
So,
you know, and you know, Reading away was a great day, and Wimbledon away was a great day. You know, so it's not, you know, as always with football, it's those moments, the good moments, that stick with you in the medium to long term than the bad moments. You know, I went to Northampton away. Fucking, that was dreadful. I don't, but that won't stick. I won't remember that in a year's time or 2 years' time. I'll remember Wimbledon and Bradford. So. And you're right. The women's team, by the way, you know, Kev seemed quite effusive about that. I think he was, when he's involved, I think he was shocked at how little support and investment that team had from the local community and the town in general. And you know, I've heard about some of the stuff he's doing behind the scenes, supporting individual players, you know, and investing in their future. So, you know, for all the people that say he's a bloke who don't know what he's doing and he's a this and he's that. You know, he's done that without fanfare, without any asking. Nobody asked him to, and without much thanks. So yeah, there's plenty to be positive about Nick. That is for sure. But as I also said to Kev when I was looking to meet him, was that's all great, but the only thing that really matters to fans is what happens on a Saturday afternoon. That he's got to get that right now.
Yeah, missing piece of the jigsaw, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And we'll see how the development comes. We might get an Nando's or something on site. Who knows?
I want they promised an amphitheatre. I want nothing less than an amphitheatre, a hotel, and an Nando's.
And a Hooters. On that note, guys, have we got anything else? Is there anything else to discuss before I wrap up? Because we've done an hour and a half there. It's absolutely flown by.
Lord, I'll be getting into trouble.
There's 250 people still listening, so if there's anything else, guys, you want us to discuss before we go, let us know. But a lot of people are saying, you know, Trevor says we really should be dominating teams, and I get that, mate. And I know it sounds a bit defeatist, just been happy with 6. I'm not saying that. Obviously, we always want top 2. We always want it. But personally, I would be maybe content's more the right word. I'd be more content with 6th than I maybe would have been when we first came down, just because of how things have gone. But a lot of people are saying minimum requirement top 6, but probably think we'll fall short.
That's a spirit.
Yeah. But, you know, Beaumont says we need to be mentally stronger and cut down on the basic individual errors. And yeah, absolutely we do. And I think, yeah, mentally stronger, that's a big thing. And we've said it for seasons now that when we have adversity, our heads just seem to drop. So, right, on that note, I don't think there's anything else. It's been a pleasure, guys, this season. It really has. It's been tough at times when the performances have been shite, trying to come up with things to say because we keep saying the same thing week after week. But what makes it better is seeing all you guys joining, interacting, all your comments and your questions, and it's brilliant. And we're going to continue it next season. Obviously, we're going to look in pre-season at the signings and the build-up. You know, I'm sure Andy will be going out to wherever they're doing.
I've heard good rumours about where it might be. It might not be Austria. It might be somewhere else.
We're talking sunny.
Where?
Yes, it might be a sunny place that begins with P and ends in Portugal. Is what I've heard as a rumour. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that rumour in the away end at Wimbledon. So
was it Cameron Asher that told you that?
It wasn't Cameron.
Was it before or after you were pissed up?
It was during.
Okay.
But I had a couple of.
It might have been Portsmouth. You were that.
Yeah.
It might have been Portsmouth. Yeah. But if somewhere like that would be
Peterborough.
Amazing. Peterborough.
As a quick aside here, my favourite moment of this year was Burton away when we all drove down.
Yeah.
And Andy, I think someone decided to go to the pub that was not the town pub where everybody was. It was miles past the stadium. We walked all the way there. It was closed. And then we walked back to the first pub, but you couldn't be asked, Andy.
Yeah.
You walked in instead, didn't you? Well, we went to the beach.
He said his legs were hurting, didn't he? He said, my legs are hurting. I'm going into I'm off into
Didn't bode well for this bike ride.
But it was a mix of that and also at Rotherham, Andy, when you criticised Gaz's parking and he took it really personally. I don't know. He mentioned that to me.
He won't be getting any more fucking lifts. That
Honestly,
much I can tell you.
It's been mentioned a few times since when we've been in the stadium. So
to be fair, it was.
I get free lifts on there. I'm saying nothing. I think that parking was exemplary.
Thanks, Killer. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
And Bromley next season.
Yeah, well,
Kick off.
I'll definitely be going to Bromley. Definitely
Well,
going to
it's
Bromley. No one's
a
had to
small
list.
ground and
Will we get in?
small
That's the
allocation.
thing.
Yeah.
Are you Blue and White
Sold out.
Foundation season ticket?
Might be.
Well, there we go. You'll need to pay. There'll be another tier, a top tier Blue and White Foundation to get in at Bromley away. I think
Okay.
you'll have to be hovering over the button to get tickets for that one.
Cora says, thanks for your content this season, lads. Been a pleasure watching your stuff with my old man every week. Well, thanks, mate. It means a lot, that. Dean Ball, cheers, lads. No, thank you to you, mate. Thanks for listening and contributing. I mean, it's about you guys, really. We're just four guys that talk bollocks, but it's, you guys make it with your comments. And
thanks to everybody except for Stephen Shepherd. He can go bollocks.
Yeah, he can fuck himself. Everyone else.
Everybody else.
He won't
I
be
love
listening
everybody.
now.
He will.
He'll be on the cricket
He
club.
will be. He'll be
Maybe
four.
when you
He'll be
lot
four.
should be
He'll be 4 or 5
drinking,
deep. He'll be 4 or
listening
5
to
deep. Won't he?
Nah, thank you so much,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks, everyone.
And we'll be back. Have a nice summer. World Cup action going on, so we can moan about England instead of Huddersfield. So that's
Yeah, we've
nice.
got that moment. We've got that moment ahead, haven't we? That's a positive.
have
That
a pod.
moment where in every single competition England start shit, but they get to a point where you think we're gonna fucking win this.
Yeah.
And then they
They'll
fail.
lose
Losing
in the
straight after.
semis. Yeah.
But that moment comes every single tournament. It
Semis
don't matter
and out.
what's happening. There's
Yeah.
always that little
Yeah.
glimmer where you think
Yeah.
we're gonna do it. It could be Jamaica 6-1 in a
listen-
friendly. Do you remember when Crouchy battered him
I'm
years
gonna-
and years ago? I thought we were doing it that time.
The only thing I love about England now is that Thomas Tuchel's got worse comb overs than me and Ian. That's the only I love
Joe
watching.
makes us look good, doesn't it?
Yeah, he makes me
When
look
we go
good.
to Turkey together,
Yeah.
get our hair done, guys. Tell you what, he might be there with us.
England social. That's
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah.
England social.
Right, guys. Thank you so much for the last time, and we'll see you into pre-season. We'll be trying to do one a week again next season if we can. If we can bring out, please God, be better football next season, and hopefully it might be more interesting. But thanks to Ian.
Well,
For
can we just say,
hosting in the
thanks,
studio.
Ian.
watch
And,
out for the
what-
bike ride related content as well. There will be
Absolutely.
stuff live from Killer's bike because I can't ride and hold a phone at the same time. He can, I can't.
That's not actually a joke. When we're out riding,
no,
Andy has to get off
I
his
have to
bike
get off,
and
we have to
unclip
do
everything, put his
anything.
sunglasses on.
Are you going to have a
anything.
camera strapped to your helmet?
Well,
mate?
there's
Is that what-
possibility, but we will be doing. We did talk about doing a podcast back from Stew Fest, which is on the afternoon when we arrive back. When we're
From what?
welcomed. Stew
From what?
Fest, Stew Fest.
What's that?
Huddersfield Rugby Union Club. There's there's going to be bands. There's going to be DJs. There's going to be a marching band apparently to welcome us all back, all 200 of us. So everybody's invited to that in aid of MND. It would be great to celebrate. Hopefully, us making it. But yeah, we did talk about doing a podcast that day, but I don't think we'll be in any sort of fit state
What
to do a
day is
podcast.
that, Andy?
That's
What's
the
it?
21st of June, Sunday the 21st of June, Father's Day, World MND
Ah.
Day. So, and that's down at Huddersfield Rugby Union Club, where obviously Stewie's lads play rugby. So, yeah, that's the plan for that afternoon to get leathered
Brilliant.
and talk about how great cyclists we are, having done that.
And if you want to donate, there's a Just Giving page.
Yes, there is.
If you
for
go
either of us.
Pel per pounds for MND,
P4P
P4P
MND. If you just
MND.
Google that, as Tris told us how to do it. Last time we did it. So,
Yeah.
but
it's
everybody,
really simple. You go on and then you just follow the links to donate and give what you can. But
yeah, we really
Yeah.
much appreciated. Thank you very much.
right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you in pre-season. Take care. Enjoy your summer. As always, up the town.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colors are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town.